So, Premier League Game Week 2 is over, and since you guys liked my roundup of Game Week 1, I'm going to do the same for Game Week 2. The teams I will be covering in order are on the screen. I do want to do West Ham's and Aston Villa's and add that to the mix in future videos, focus on the big clubs. I can't do every club, guys, because I can't watch every single game. I don't have that much time, but we're focusing on these clubs. If you're wondering where Manchester United is, I have my own Manchester United channel, so I do Newcastle instead of Manchester United because they're probably the biggest club outside the traditional top six, big six. But let's get into what we learned from Game Week 2, starting with Tottenham, who probably had their best result in a while, a 4-0 win over Everton, and Tottenham looked absolutely incredible. There was a little 10-minute spell after Tottenham went 2-0 up where they dropped off a little bit, gave Everton a bit of the ball, but other than that, Tottenham are fantastic. 6 big chances created to Everton's 0. Total domination. The XG says it all as well. Son with the double, Romero with a brilliant header, Tottenham finally scoring for set piece, and Basuma wasn't just the goal, but Basuma had a brilliant game, particularly because Maddison and Kulu were playing as two very advanced eights, which gave Basuma a lot to do, but he looked like the Basuma of August to October in Ange's first season. He looked really back to his best and very good. Underrated performance from him. But what do we learn and what do I think works well? Now, I don't think this is going to work in every game against the Manchester City. You probably need a bit more defensive stability. But I think against sides in the bottom half of the table, Decky and Maddison work really well together. Now, one thing Ange has is he likes his wingers to be touchline wingers, 1v1, progressive carriers. A Neto, a Garnacho, obviously an Odbert, we're going to talk about him. They're the kind of profile of wingers that he wants. Other kind of wingers like a Cole Palmer will be better centrally in Ange's system. And that is the same that you've got with Kulusevski. He's not someone that's known for his pace. He's someone that's known to be a good dribbler. He's someone that's known to retain the ball, be good in tight spaces, hold up the ball, and operate best in the right half space. Maddison is a number 10 that operates best in the left half space when he can put those crosses in. And Kulu is a winger, but in Ange's system wouldn't be a winger. He's someone that operates best in the right half space. So what Ange did is he had Kulu and Maddison playing in their best roles, and Basuma was absolutely key to that with the performance he put in. And obviously the fullbacks inverting helped that. And that made both of them, I think, play better. Particularly Kulu had a fantastic game because he can retain the ball really well. He's got a little bit more physicality than Maddison. He's good at holding up the ball in tight areas. He's very good at dribbling through tight spaces and making things happen where he doesn't need to beat his fullback 1v1 for pace. He's a good dribbler, good holder, good retention, good creator. But you've got Maddison who has that ability to play those game-breaking passes. Maddison, start of the season, Maddison, you can see his qualities. There's a difference maker there. And I noticed because the Everton defence. Now, to be honest, the Everton defence isn't very good, but we're not going to take that away from how good Spurs was. The Everton defence was shocking, but because you got Decky and Maddison for the Everton defence to mark, back in the past, they would normally just focus on Maddison. So then Maddison would have to drop deeper to receive the ball, wouldn't have as much space. Now they have to split those duties because you've got two players that can make just as much impact in attack. So then Maddison just gets that little bit more space. I thought the dynamic worked well. They both had very, very good games as well. And I think that, there's been question marks over, the consistency of someone like Decky and someone like Maddison. But I will tell you that they've got the quality. It's just how Ange fits them both in the system together. Now, one guy that showed quality was Odbert. Now, I have to say this. Very strong debut from him. He clearly wanted to make things happen, clearly wanted to take risks. He's comfortable taking on his man, showed good ability 1v1. And that's what Ange wants in his winger. I think he's a little bit more naturally gifted than Werner as well. Ange wants a winger that literally is a bit like Pedro Neto, a little bit like Garnacho, very fearless, very rapid, can get the ball and dart down. And that is what you get in Odbert. Profile-wise, he's what Ange wants in his winger. And I think that's something that Tottenham has struggled with because, as I said, Decky is better coming central. Son isn't necessarily a touchline winger, but he isn't a striker. He's best when he's almost like a left forward, if that makes sense. So with Odbert, you've got someone that is a natural sort of touchline winger, that is very progressive, a very good carrier. If you look at his carrying and dribble statistics in the Premier League last year, despite playing for Burnley, they were some of the best in terms of progressive carries, dribbles, ball progression. He's absolutely rapid, and he was given Ange a bit of what he wants. Of course, there'll be times where he'll need to improve in his final third output and his weak foot, but he's so young, he's so raw. What is he, like 19? But he showed really good ability 1v1, really good carrying, and absolutely electric player that I think when Brennan Johnson wasn't quite having his best game, Odbert seemed like a breath of fresh air on the other side because he was wanting to make things happen. He was wanting to take on his man. He was wanting to get forward. He was wanting to attack. And Tottenham needs someone that can go from outside to in that is direct. And you've got that in Odbert. Also, Micky van der Ven and Romero, what a pairing you've got there. 2 top centre-backs. Romero gets the goal, Micky van der Ven gets the assist, and what an insane assist it was from van der Ven. If you haven't seen it, go watch that van der Ven assist for, I think that was the 4th goal. Phenomenal run up there, and it's a really good pairing, not just because they got a goal and assist, but defensively that pairing is very good. They have a lot of work to do. Romero is very good in the air, sweeping up the ball, playing out the ball, breaking the lines. Micky van der Ven is very good at putting in those recovery tackles, defending the wide channels. I generally am saying this as a United fan. Romero and van der Ven, one of the best centre-back pairings in football. They are 2 really good players. I think Romero is a bit underrated by rivals because he gets a few cards, but very good pairing. Let's talk about Manchester City's 4-1 demolition of Ipswich. Ipswich went 1-0 up for, could there be an upset here? Well, that lasted exactly about 5 minutes because Savinho, he won a penalty. He looks very good. We'll talk about him, but it was domination from City. 5 big chances created to Ipswich 1, 3.34 XG to Ipswich 0.29, and you'd expect Manchester City to win at home against the newly promoted Ipswich. And Erling Haaland is a robot. I feel like Erling Haaland scoring a hat-trick isn't really a main talking point because he scores a hat-trick that much. I generally feel like if a player was made by AI, it's Erling Haaland. I mean, the goal he scored versus Chelsea last week was crazy. But you know what, Haaland? Thank you for the FPL points. So, no Rodri, no Foden. This was the line that they still win. And that's the thing that annoys me about City is Rodri is for me, their best player in terms of importance. He's not there. Foden, you can argue, second best player if De Bruyne is out of form. Well, actually Haaland, but you know what I mean. I'd say Haaland and Rodri are the best players, probably followed by De Bruyne, probably followed by Foden. But no Foden, no Rodri. 2 really key players missing. They still look good. They still look dominant. I know it's a newly promoted Ipswich, but it just shows the quality and depth that City have. But I want to talk about this guy, Savinho. Won the penalty, and he will win City a lot of penalties this year. He's got elements of Mahrez and elements of Sane, elements of Sterling, like the old school City wingers. I think they missed the elements last season. He 1v1, him in tight spaces dribbling. He can manipulate defenders because he can move his feet so quickly and throw defenders off and disguise his movement that he's going to win fouls because defenders can think he's going to commit to the left, he's going to commit to the right. He wins fouls. He's someone, again, we were just talking about Odbert and why Ange wants him. He is someone that's going to get the ball, that has absolutely rapid levels of pace and is going to carry the ball and is going to progress the ball and is going to give Man City a new threat on the counter-attack, which they wouldn't have if Bernardo Silva and Grealish were on the wings. He's got that Sane-level pace. He's got that Mahrez ability in terms of technical, in terms of tight spaces, in terms of dribbling, and he's full of energy. He is pressing high. He's forcing Ipswich into mistakes. He was making it difficult for them. His work rate, his pressing, his athleticism, I think he's already better than Doku after watching 2 games. I can comfortably say he's better than Doku. I think he's a top player there, and I think, the output will come as well. I also thought that Kovacic looked really good for Manchester City. He showed his unstoppable running power versus Chelsea with the goal and the carry. But I thought again today he showed good defensive ability versus Chelsea. But I thought again today he shows that he can put in an absolute defensive shift for Manchester City as well. He can cover ground really easily. I think his athletic qualities are underrated because when you think of Kovacic, you think of a guy that's technically good on the ball, can link up well in tight spaces, but his athletic ability, his defensive ability versus Ipswich to defend the wide channels, it was really, really good, and he was linking up with Bernardo in those tight spaces, moving the ball. And I think when you've got someone like Bernardo and Kovacic that is technically good on the ball, those intricate 1-2s, breaking down play, it makes it incredibly difficult for Ipswich to defend against. And then lastly, I want to talk about Rico Lewis. Rico Lewis was really, really impressive for me. I thought his underlaps and ability to invert midfield is really good. Ability to get in half space is good. He gets in these more midfield attacking positions, which you don't see from someone that's playing at right back, really. And I thought his technical ability was shown. Kyle Walker could have some problems. I know, completely different profile of player, but Kyle Walker did drop off a little bit recently. He does a lot of good work in midfield. He's very good on the ball, was able to happily dictate the ball, did not look out of place, and put in a solid shift defensively. Impressive display from him. Now, let's talk about Chelsea, because that Chelsea game was open. I mean, you look at the stats there. Wolves had 1.96 XG to Chelsea's 1.68. That's what I'm going to say. The game was open. Chelsea were good in attack, but they were open at the back. But Chelsea were just so good in attack. When Chelsea have invested that kind of money in the attack and have that many attacking options to come off the bench, there has to be quality in attack, and there is. People often laugh about how big Chelsea squad is, but there's no doubt in my mind that the attacking quality in that Chelsea squad is top. You do miss Thiago Silva, that leader at the back. I think Colwell's a very good player. I don't think Fofana and Colwell had bad games, but structurally, was quite easy for Wolves to have opportunities. Chelsea looked like they can score 5, but they look like they can concede 4. Do you know what I'm saying with Chelsea? But 5 big chances for both teams, but Chelsea were more clinical. And Madueke was very, very clinical as well, because there weren't easy chances, and he got a hat-trick within 14 minutes after posting that Instagram post, which is one of the funniest Premier League moments. But Cole Palmer with an absolutely insane goal. Cole Palmer with 3 assists. Cole Palmer is just world-class. I think we can all admit now, Cole Palmer has to just be world-class. The goal, the assist, this is the second season. If he does it this season under Maresca, he can do it under Poch. And if he does it this season under Maresca, you just know, bosh. And the Cole Palmer-Madueke link-up was cheat code, because Cole Palmer's always going to be best centrally in Maresca's system. And Madueke, he's more of a touchline winger. He likes to run down. Madueke running down in the transition. Cole Palmer's technical ability and vision to find space and execute the pass, cash money. He finds Madueke there every time. His timing, his weight of pass, his IQ. Cole Palmer gets the ball, he plays Madueke in. Cole Palmer is just fantastic, and he can break down the low block, but they also have but he's also deadly on transition because he can facilitate in the wingers. Cole Palmer facilitating Neto and Madueke is just absolute cheat code. He's an unbelievable player, and I'm very jealous that Chelsea got Cole Palmer, because he's a Man United fan, and that's who I want to replace Bruno Fernandes with in 2 years. Cole Palmer, baby. And Madueke was brilliant. And I've always said with Madueke, in terms of what Maresca wants in his winger profile-wise, he wants someone that's good 1v1. He wants someone that's fast, can be a touchline winger, can be a carrier that's going to progress the ball. You get that in Madueke. He's technically good. He's a fast, skillful player. He just needs to keep his head down, stay consistent. And this could be Madueke's break up the year. This could be a good big season for him. That confidence will give him, that hat-trick will give him confidence. He was a great player. Even without the hat-trick, he had a really good game, taking on players, making things happen. Put in a good shift. I think there's a very good player, Madueke, with very good technical ability that can score goals, that can get assists, that is raw, but I think he could really thrive under Maresca. I also want to talk about Levi Colwill, very good on the ball. Playing out from the back, he was moving the ball quickly, breaking the lines, and this was allowing Chelsea to counter Wolves in difficult positions. He's so good on the ball, Levi Colwill. Obviously, some defensive errors, but not necessarily his fault. Can improve defensively, but I thought defensively he put in a shift. But on the ball, I thought Levi Colwill's passing was really helping Chelsea. So good on the ball, one of the best centre-backs you're going to get on the ball. And obviously that's Cole Palmer's stats. 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 chances created, 2 big chances created, 47 touches, 6 recoveries. Cole Palmer is, and I hate to admit it, he's just world class. I will say about Chelsea, out of possession structure has room for improvement. They look like they could concede 5 goals, but they looked very good going forward. I thought João Felix and Neto were also very good off the bench, and Nkunku's a good player as well. Caicedo and Enzo pivot just doesn't seem to work. Caicedo's looked better with Lavia. He looked even better with Gallagher. I don't know what it is about Caicedo and Enzo, but I don't think Caicedo plays well when he's in the pivot with Enzo. Maybe that's just me, but I do think Caicedo's had some good games for Chelsea, and there's a good player there. Wolves had chances, but they're just not as clinical as Chelsea, and I think Chelsea could improve at set-piece defending. Taking us into Newcastle game, another controversial game with VAR, although Newcastle fans can say, you know what, the Shah red card was harsh, so maybe we got away with one with Joel Linton. Because I do think that the Joel Linton one was more of a red card than the Shah one. But I get why Shah got sent off, because you can't do that. But, let's be honest, Diaz was asking for it, and Diaz was winding him up, and you know what I mean. But we're not here to talk about red cards or VAR. We don't do that on this channel. I can't be bothered for the VAR red card chat. The game ended 1-1. And you know what? It was a very end-to-end game. Bournemouth did have the higher XG, but Newcastle had 4 big chances to Bournemouth too. I think the game could have ended either way. Newcastle decent in the first 15 minutes, then dropped off. Eddie Howe made some subs around the 60th minute. And the last half an hour, I thought, Newcastle were a little bit more on top. I think the game could have ended 2-1 either way, but it looked like Newcastle could change the momentum and win the game 2-1. Harvey Barnes made an impact. I thought the subs made a massive impact. Harvey Barnes made the most impact. Lewis Hall was very good. Joe Willock was really good. That new energy that was uplifted into them was crucial, because I do think that Newcastle was struggling to pay out from the press, and I think that's because they got Kraft and who else was at the back? Dan Burn at the back, rather than someone that's really good on the ball. Obviously Shah does make a bit of a difference, and obviously Lewis Hall, who's probably your best player at the back on the ball, also wasn't in the starting 11 like Kelly was. So I do think they struggled under the press, but I thought the subs, the new energy, I think they got better. And I think that while they struggled versus Bournemouth, if I was a Newcastle fan, I wouldn't be long-term concerned, because you're going to bring in a centre-back. You're going to have a new centre-back coming in. You've got Botman and Shah coming back. I think a lot of it was to do with the centre-backs. You've also been linked to James Trafford, who's very good on the ball, better than Nick Pope on the ball. But Nick Pope's a better shot stopper. But let's talk about Harvey Barnes. He's the guy that gets the headlines, and deservedly so. I thought Harvey Barnes made a brilliant impact off the bench. He got a great assist. He was unlucky not to score. And Newcastle seemed to create a lot more when Harvey Barnes came on. I said when he can on, I've said, because I forgot to proofread that. But he was brilliant impact. He was unlucky not to score. Got a really good assist, a really good goal there to Gordon at the back post. You've also got Joelinton and Isak that were in the box that could have gotten the end of the header. Newcastle created a lot more when he came on. He just looked comfortable on that left-hand side. He looks very comfortable in the left half space. Whereas Gordon is more pace, take your man on. Harvey Barnes is the one that can cut in. And I think in terms of final ball, it probably natural ability-wise could be better with Gordon than that. So it'd be interesting to see. And I know Gordon's been probably the best left winger in the Premier League for the last year, but Harvey Barnes has shown at Leicester when he's fit, when he's in form, he has output. I do think Gordon on the right, Isak up top, and Harvey Barnes on the left, I would like to see. I think Gordon can still be good on the right. Although you could put Barnes on the right, Gordon on the left, but it'll be interesting to see how that works out as well. I think it was a very good cross from Gordon. It's a very good cross from Barnes. End product's never been an issue with Barnes, and I think while Jacob Murphy was very good in pre-season, has been a good player for Newcastle recently, I do think Harvey Barnes is a level and quality ahead of him, and I think if they can find a way to make Barnes, Gordon and Isak work, whether that's Barnes on the left or right, whoever looks better on the right, because I know both prefer the left, I think that would be good. But I also think Barnes and Gordon could work quite well on the left if Gordon was almost playing more centrally as well. It'd be interesting to see how Newcastle make it work. I thought that Willock and Lewis Hall made a positive impact, and I think Lewis Hall, unlucky not to start, but I can see why Eddie Howe made those changes. My general thoughts on Newcastle was that he was struggled to play out from the back. They were not as comfortable, and I think that was mostly to do with Shah's absence. I think no Botman and Shah makes it very difficult it makes it a big difference for their defence. You know, we saw it at United last season. Man United, when they lost Varane and Martinez. Man United were crap last season, but we didn't have Varane and Martinez for most of the season. Varane and Martinez come back for the FA Cup final. We beat City 2-0. We play well. We put in the defensive shift. When you lose not just one centre-back, but your two best starting centre-backs, it makes such a difference, the levels and quality, particularly when you've got Shah, who's probably the second best Premier League centre-back on the ball statistically as well. That's nothing against Kraft and Byrne, but on the ball, they're not going to offer what Shah and Botman offer. Lewis Hall, very good. He's so technically good. He's so good on the ball. I think he would have helped because I think Newcastle was struggling with the Bournemouth press, but I don't think Kelly had a bad game, but I think Lewis Hall would have been one of the players that could have been an outlet, potentially building out wide or doing something different. I felt that Newcastle did move the ball slowly. The Bournemouth press was causing them issues. They weren't moving it quick enough forward, and I think that probably made it more difficult for the likes of Murphy and Gordon to really have an impact on the game, particularly in that first half. But I thought the subs made a difference. A new energy was there. They looked more confident. I think goal gave them momentum, and Neto had to make some good saves at the end. And, potentially Newcastle could have won that 2-1 another day. Bournemouth could have won that 2-1 if VAR was on their side. It was one of those things where both teams created chances. It was quite an open game. But I will say this. Bournemouth are a better team than they get credit for. I've seen a few Newcastle fans very negative online about the result and stuff. But I will tell you this is for a fact. Like, I've watched Bournemouth play last season. What they finished 10th, 11th. I've looked at the transfer business they've made. They've spent the 5th most amount of money in the last 2 years. Bournemouth is crazy statistic that people didn't realise. Like, there's a decent side in Bournemouth, and I generally think they have abilities to finish top 10 despite losing Solanke. So it's not like you've done that to like a Leicester or a Southampton. Now, I don't want this video to drag on for too long, so we're going to go over to Arsenal. Now, this was not an easy game for Arsenal. Villa had a higher XG. They both had 2 big chances, but Arsenal were clinical, and Trossard was a big reason behind that clinicalness. And if you want to win the Premier League, you've got to be clinical. Manchester City have won it twice now because Erling Haaland's goals have been the difference between City not playing best but winning the games. Now, Arsenal didn't play bad. I think individually Arsenal played very well. They're just going away to Villa Park, a bogey team it has been for them, against a very good Villa side that caused a few problems, but David Raya made some good saves. Watkins missed a sitter. Saliba made a brilliant last-ditch tackle. When Arsenal showed title-winning mentality, Arsenal deserved to win the game in the end because they showed resilience, they showed fight, they showed title-winning mentality, and they put their chances away. And a bit like Newcastle, the Arsenal game, the sub of Trossard made a difference. The left-wing sub making a change. It was not an easy game for Arsenal, but David Raya was key, and Arsenal said, you know what, we're taking this tie race to the end already. I felt like that. And I saw this, and this was commented in my Arsenal match reaction, so I'm assuming this stat is correct, but if it's not, correct me. Arsenal have won 9 of their 10 Premier League away games in 2024, drawing the other, which I believe was City, scoring 30 and conceding just twice in that run. Incredibly, they've never trailed in that time either, which is ridiculous. 2 goals conceded away from home in 10 games. That's mad. In 2024, Arsenal have been unreal. Considering how good Arsenal were in 2024, and considering, how Arsenal improve every season, I think Arsenal win the league. As I said in my match reaction, Trossard was clutch. Trossard was a complete game changer for Arsenal. I mean, he's Arsenal's version of Diego Jota. I've said it again. Probably deserves the start over Martinelli at the moment, but he's someone that can come off the bench. And this guy is going to make an impact. He's going to make a difference. He's clinical. He's probably Arsenal's best finisher. He completely lifts the game. And if you look at non-penalty Premier League goals in 22-23, he's got the same amount as Cole Palmer. Trossard comes on, he scores goals. You look at his minutes played per goal ratio, it's one of the best in the league. He is a moments player. I think he can start for Arsenal, but I think if you want a title-winning team, you go by Nico Williams. You have Nico Williams and Saka on the wings, and then you have Trossard as your impact player. Because if you have a player like Trossard coming off the bench that is good enough to start, that is what Man City have on their bench, and that's why it's so difficult to compete with Man City. But with Trossard, he can come off, he can get a goal. He's made an impact yet again. Arsenal look very good at left back. Calafiore looked promising when he's played, not played a lot yet. But Yuri Timber, whole year out, thought he could be a little bit rusty. Doesn't look out of place at all. Very good on the ball. Very good at inverting. Very good at moving the ball forward. Very technically good. They've got a very good player in Yuri Timber in terms of technical ability on the ball, can go into midfield, can help Partey, who's losing elements of his physicality. And then they've got a physical monster in Calafiore that's going to be there for set pieces, there for wide channel defending. Very good defensively where Zinchenko hadn't been. Zinchenko's quite good on the ball, but he struggles defensively. You've now got two big upgrades in Calafiore and Timber. Timber who can play on the right because he's right-footed as well. Saliba was obviously Rolls Royce. We go to that last-ditch tackle from Saliba, and absolutely wow. Saliba was absolutely fantastic. He is a world-class defender. He's done it for 3 seasons in a row now. He's a world-class defender. Well done, Arsenal. I'm very jealous. I mean, that's all you need to say about Saliba. 1v1, fast, physical, brilliant on the ball. What more can you ask for? And then going into Liverpool, who sadly we have to play them next week. I'm not looking forward to playing Liverpool because they do look good. Obviously, Brentford, Ipswich. But look, Liverpool could have had 4 goals again today. Liverpool's 2.65 XG to Brentford's 0.36. I'm going to say one thing about Liverpool. They look so much better defensively. I think Klopp's a fantastic manager. But I did think last year, while Liverpool were very good going forward, I always felt that they could concede. I think Arne Slot off the ball has done something to Liverpool. They look a little bit better defensively. Liverpool had 4 big chances. Brentford did have 2 though. Brentford had opportunities in a moment where they grew into the first half, but second half Liverpool in these opening 2 games have been unbelievable. Liverpool scored a brilliant transition goal through Jota and Diaz, and that was just absolutely incredible. And I have to say, Liverpool's attack is firing. They probably could have got 3 or 4 today. They probably could have got 3 or 4 versus Ipswich. But Diaz has been really good in these opening 2 games under Slot. I think Diaz probably profile-wise suits what Slot wants in his wingers. He's fast, he's electric, he's a good ball carrier. He likes to take on players 1v1. You isolate Diaz against the guy that he can take on 1v1, and Diaz is going to make an impact. 4 key passes, 1 assist, 6 out of 10 duels won. Even if he didn't get the goal and assist today, Diaz would have been man of the match for his defensive work rate, his pressing. When Slot's system demands so much of his wingers, Diaz rose to the occasion. He was making things happen, going fast, going direct, 1v1, proper winger, making things happen, good assist, good goal. I mean, the goal was fantastic. It was a fantastic counter-attack for Liverpool. Salah's starting well with 2 goals, 1 assist. Jota's starting well with 1 goal, 1 assist. Liverpool's attack is firing, and I don't like that being a Man United fan and having to play them next. I said this in my what we learned from the Liverpool game, but Trent out wide, I think Trent is better out wide. Trent is such a good player that you ask him to invert, he will do that job perfectly. You ask him to play out wide and overlap, he'll do that job perfectly. Slot can adapt to game states. Trent, we want him to invert this week. Trent, we want him to overlap this week. If Liverpool lose him for free, that's one of the worst things that club will ever do. But when Trent can play out wide, he's allowed to press higher and he's allowed to get higher and wider, which means he's in more dangerous areas when he can influence the games higher up the pitch, where he can play those more dangerous passes that is going to open up a defence. And I thought the Trent was unbelievable. I think it was like the first 15 minutes of the second half, I think he played like 5 unreal out of these world passes that if your player had just played 2 of them in a game, you'd be like, wow. But the fact that Trent could do like 5 in 15 minutes was crazy. And I thought Szoboszlai's movement in the second half was really good in the right half space. Szoboszlai, Salah, Trent were creating overloads, were creating these combination plays, these triangles, which was making it really difficult again for Brentford, to defend against, and it worked really well. And then lastly, Ryan Gravenberch. Ryan Gravenberch in that number 6 role, he's making it his own. On the ball, progressing play, he can turn away, his ability to receive the ball, turn away, dribble. He's so comfortable on the ball, his touch, his passing, his ability to break lines has been fantastic. He's got that Ajax education. Ryan Gravenberch absolutely brings that. But he won his tackles, he made 8 recoveries, he intercepted the ball. there's questions around how good is his defensive awareness to play 6. But in terms of winning duels, in terms of progressing play, in terms of what he's going to do on the ball, which is why Slot wanted Subamende, because Endo sometimes has limitations on the ball, Ryan Gravenberch was phenomenal yet again. I still think Liverpool need a 6, just because squad depth, competition. You want to be an elite team, you need Gravenberch and a top number 6 competing for that spot, but Gravenberch has been fantastic. Let me know your thoughts down below, but that's what we learned from Game Week 2. See you next time. Bye.